public works, work session. Make a pledge of allegiance. I pledge
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Before we start the regular part of the meeting, is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on a topic that's not public hearing eligible? We don't have anyone in the physical audience, anyone on Zoom.
People show up.
Okay, then we will go to agenda item number 2. We have the Historical Society here today. We've got Matt Lawrenson and Mary Frank Gleason, who have a proposal for town historian designation that they'd like to present with us. Present to us. Yes, please.
Good afternoon, thanks for having us. So appreciate the opportunity. I think the proposal speaks for itself. There's a law that requires the town to have a town historian. And basically the description in the law pretty much mirrors everything we do at the Historical Society. It seems to us that it's maybe nonsensical to be redundant in our efforts, since the Historical Society is all about history all the time, all over the island and everything. So we think it would be a dynamic fit for both us and the town to allow us to provide that service to the town. At the same time, we collectively will be providing an essential service to all of Shelter Island, continue to preserve and share the island's history. So with that, I mean, I'm happy to answer questions. I think the proposal kind of lays out actually everything that we do, and certainly every year when we come before the board at budget hearing time, it's the same message. So essentially our mission has not altered at all. We do think that at this point, you know, it was based on the fact that the town documents that are stored in the police department was the impetus for this proposal. So that's kind of where we thought we'd start, if you're amenable.
I know that Amber Wilson and I met with the New York State Archives people. And so I need to go back because that was earlier in the year. We met with them before we went over to the room over at the police department to understand, you know, just to make sure Amber's understanding which was good, what we keep, what we can't keep. And we did start to look at what types of things we could turn over to you, agreements that we would have to have in place in order to, there's certain town records that we must retain custody of. So if we gave them to you to hold on to, which would be very good because you've got the facility for preserving them, we just have to make sure that we draft an agreement that states that you have custody, but they still belong to the town.
Sure, I mean, you know, our archives are all public documents, so I don't see any reason that would be an issue at all. I also wanted to point out too, I was looking today to see if there was any precedent about having an historical society and the town historian being one and the same. And it varies, you know, some have them separate, but there are often many historical societies where the president is officially the town historian, or the town historian is the board of the Historical Society, or an ex officio member of the Historical Society. So there's a lot to say that there's a lot of synergy between the two organizations, and there's nothing to prevent, I don't think, the society from being a town historian.
That was another thing.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we could do some
versus-
more research on that, but if it does help, you know, you could name an officer of the board of trustees or board of directors of the society as the historian rather than the society as a whole. That's another way to approach it.
I think it's a tremendous opportunity, really. And you have the ball, you have an archivist, it just makes so much sense.
Well, and it saves, you know, you don't have to do it yourselves, because technically the law says that the town would have to provide a vault for the historian, right? So this way, you know, it's like, why reinvent the wheel, really?
Okay, let me just jump in real quick. So this is New York State Arts and Cultural Affairs Law, section 57.07. And she is indeed right that the town is required to have a local historian. The selection of that historian is solely within the province of the town supervisor. She gets to select. However, if there's going to be any payments or compensation made to the Historical Society, that's a town board decision. And speaking with them, it seems that there is going to be a financial component to this. The town board's going to have to, discuss that, because it really is a major front-loaded situation where everything has to be cataloged, cleaned, and then properly stored. And that has to be all under the supervision of an archivist. So that's another aspect of this that the town board's going to have to discuss, whether or not the town board's willing to pay for that service. Town historians, it goes both ways, and municipalities are either paid or unpaid. And I don't think, I concur that I don't think there is a prohibition on having a society serve as the local historian, but it would be nice to have a person in that. Yes, so, I don't know, do you have an executive director or something?
However, the law does say they can't be staff.
Okay,
That's the other piece that you
Cannot be staff, would you say?
cannot be staff. This was a synopsis of the historian law, and it says, as a historian, you are not a part of the historical agency staff. So that's
okay,
why
but
it's
you
saying it
said,
could be
yeah,
a
an
board
officer,
member.
yeah.
But I mean, of course, we work with the staff, but
Like, to me, I was just thinking, executive director is there typically longer and there's a lot more change up
Right.
top. But I guess, so is there a president, is there a director?
so we have, currently we have 11 board members. We have a president, which is me, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and then the other board members who are involved in various committees, committee chairs. We have a historic preservation committee. So maybe it's historic preservation committee that takes the lead. I mean, it's-
How much is the turnover on the president? Is that like every?
We elect a president every year, but typically it's up to the current president if they want to stay on.
Okay.
But we all serve we can serve 2 consecutive 3-year terms before rolling off the board. So there's a lot of continuity on the board. And our mission, but the thing to remember is our mission doesn't change. It's still the same mission. And if you already have an archivist in place who's very familiar with the town documents, what you need is that person on the board to be the liaison with the town.
Correct.
So
And who's the vice president now?
vice president is Chris Carey. Yeah, and the treasurer is Peg Diorio, and our secretary is Elizabeth Narden. And Elizabeth is also chair of the Historic Preservation Committee. And then we have, and that's executive director, we have Caitlin Ketchum is our archivist. Serge Pereiro is our item store manager. We have a couple of farmers market managers. So small staff, but very mighty.
Matt, you've been here for a long time, because we met when I was president of the Manor.
It'll be 13 years in March.
Yeah, so, long time.
They have a touchdown document in that vault.
13 wonderful years.
Yes, she's been
Absolutely.
amazing. She's been an amazing executive director. And we also have volunteers who work in the archives and help with the digitizing, getting it into collective action, et cetera, so. There's a lot of resources put into the document preservation component of our work.
Are you only interested in original documents, or?
Very much. We have the original documents, but then we're in the process of photographing them and then getting them into a database so that they're easily accessible. You can find them right away. You don't have to, touch them necessarily, but it makes them a lot easier to gain access.
Have you had any conversations with the Manor about any documents they might have that they might help, that are very much town related, that might be useful for this project, or if they're willing to give them up?
Oh, we've ever had. I like
Do
that
I
too
need to
much.
stand up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, share the letter.
We do have frequent conversations with Sylvester Manor. They come to us to do research. They have some documentation, certainly on the enslaved people that we may not have, that Don Marie's done some tremendous research. We may not have that. We've never specifically spoken to them about town-related documents. I don't know if they have them. I don't know, but we'd certainly be willing to talk to them.
I feel like they're kind of separate. This is more for like the town clerk to work with the historical society to archive our documents. So it would have to be, you know, Amber Wilson would be the point person for the town, and then we'd have the point person for the historical society.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, I was interested to read that a lot of what the town historian does is identify those historic places that need designation. And we would be perfectly positioned to help in those areas, but that would be a town initiative, right, to do that, so. Pretty interesting, kind of goes in keeping with our house registry project.
Talk to me about money.
It's so hard, I know, we've been toying with that, but don't really have an answer for you yet. I think that it would take a little bit more assessment to look at, starting with the documents in the police department, just to look at the breadth of those. But as Steve was saying, I kind of envision it maybe being front-loaded, so that if there's the bulk of this, once we get that process clean and stored, that we can probably revisit it, because then I think by then we would have a process where there's an annual stream of documents that is just kind of regulated and easier to handle rather than this big project off the bat, so.
May I elaborate a little bit on
Yes.
that? I think that what's contained in that front end loading, if you will, that budget would pay for supplies, materials needed to clean the documents, to organize, catalog the documents. A lot of the expense is supplies. I mean, an archive box could, as you probably know, would be $80, $100 for one box. So that's when we're talking about front end load, it's really about supplies. Once we have routine in place, then the archivist fee for the person who works with all the supplies would be less. So, right, without understanding the volume of what it is that we would be accepting, it's a little hard to say, well, we're gonna need X amount of archival paper or boxes or archive pencils. Hard to, right,
Right.
suggest that, but,
Okay.
Just for clarity, the documents that are over at PP are not police documents. They are town documents when the town clerk's office used to be over there. And so it's been used as storage. Amber has made a lot of headway in there, clearing out what did not need to be archived. I think she made available to you, we had decades of Shelter Island reporters. So before she was going to get rid of them, I know she was asking to see if there was any holes in what you had, because I know you've got most of them. So she has cleared out a lot of things that the New York State Archivists did not say needed to be held on to.
like sales receipts and things like that.
Yeah, you know, slips for, you know, parking permits, and
Yeah,
there were so many things. Amber,
right.
right.
And it's not just about town records, it's about non-governmental and governmental records that all lead into the town's history.
But what
That's
we,
what this says.
yes. What we have and what we're concerned with from a town
Town-
perspective is
Okay.
what are historical documents that the town needs to retain? Things that are before, I'm trying to remember what the date was, it was like 1920 something.
1912.
Oh, thank you.
1912.
I was gonna say 12, but then I was like, oh, was it that long ago? So anything before 1912, we must retain an original copy. We can't have a
Gotcha.
copy of it. And that's where we, if we were to have the Historical Society hold on to those documents, we need
A
a
contract.
contract that
listing
specifies
each
exactly
document.
what we have.
Right, so it also, well, on to that note, if you need to retain the original copy and you feel like you have to keep it here, we could still digitize it
Mhm.
and return it. I mean, that's another option, right?
I don't know that we'd have to keep it here
Oh, okay.
technically, but we'd have to
technically maintain ownership,
Yes.
and then you could be
Mhm.
like, are storing, like you would like store it in the archive for us.
Stewards.
But yeah, you'd be the stewards, but we'd have to retain
Yes.
legal ownership over the document.
Yes.
And that's through
That's
the
the-
agreement with the town historian, so they're in essence
Yes,
an
we just,
employee of the
we
town.
asked, yeah, we asked New York State Archives for copies of some similar contracts, and I don't know if they ever got back to Amber on that. But there's been a lot going on this year. I know, like, when we, there was a bunch of assessors maps that you received at one point. Those we weren't required to hang on to, so we were able to just give them to you. So you could do with them whatever you wanted to do. We didn't have to,
So keep it,
a history that we, yeah,
makes sense.
we got them,
Our
so.
goal is to digitize every document in our archive, so we'll all be long done when we finally get to that point. But, there's two reasons for that. One, and Mary touched on it already, you're not handling the document, but also to make it accessible so that you wouldn't need to leave your office necessarily. You could say, you know, Lynette or whomever, I need this assessor's map for this area of Bay Beach or something, you know, and we can pull it up for you. Everything is accessible. We try to accommodate requests really within a week at the most. I mean, some requests are more involved than others, but some we can answer on the spot, some take a couple of days, but everything is accessible, even now, even whether it's digitized or not. And of course, you'd be welcome to come in at any point in time too. Anyone else have questions on this?
I also recommended that they give an annual report to the town board
Mhm.
as to their cataloging efforts, status on that. And then also any programs that they run on behalf, wearing their hat as the town historian for the public.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly the exhibit we have up now, you could consider as pretty much a town project. Lisa, have you seen it? The undevelopment?
Yeah.
The airport at Masonic? I forgot about that one. That one blew me away. With a golf course, too. Ooh. Yeah, so, I mean, just about everything we do has a town component in it, so.
So getting back to money, if I don't know if this is realistic or not, but it would be helpful, because Mary Fran has not seen the documents in the police department. I was here a couple of months ago and took the tours, right? So a little bit of a visual, but it would be helpful if we could revisit that and maybe get a better clarity on what are we looking at, what are we talking about?
Yeah, that would definitely help us figure out what it would initial cost. But if Amber's already got a jump on sorting it, that's
great.
big, that's huge.
So next steps are
Yes,
get them and have a look,
yes,
get a
yeah,
proposal as to
Mhm.
costs.
Yeah.
Because I think actually doing this is kind of a no-brainer.
yeah, because we do need to appoint a town historian, and you are the logical.
When's the last time the town had one?
A couple of years ago,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we had, and there was a small stipend that was associated with that, but during some budget cuts, because it doesn't need to be a paid position, the discussion was, you know, did the town historian want to come in and, you know, give a justification for the stipend that was being received, and he opted not to. Somewhere, the next appointment didn't take place. I thought it had been done at the beginning of the year, but when we did some research.
Prior to the most recent town historian was Louise Green, who was at the same time our executive director. Throw that out there for background information.
Louise is still around.
Yeah.
So I would say they need to partner up with Amber
Yes.
Wilson
Mhm, yeah,
and coordinate. You need to coordinate with Amber Wilson on a time to go and do a site visit.
Sure, absolutely.
and then we'll continue to pursue contract, you know, templated contracts that we can start to work with. So
Sure.
we'll circle back to the state archives people to see if they had any luck. They're responsible across the state. I think the person who's like the downstate didn't have something but needed to reach out to their boards across the state, so.
Right, about contract, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it would be good if, we could get whatever financial proposal to you sooner rather than later before you start your budget. Okay,
Yes.
all right. So maybe over the next week or so, I can get over to see. That'd be great.
Sounds good.
So on a side note, Nanette, when you did the party for the house tour at my house, you expressed an interest in some photographs I had. If you still want them, I'll drop them off.
We would like to have that, please. And, if you choose not to part with your originals, we can scan them and then we have a digital copy to keep your originals.
That would be great. I definitely want them back, but I'd love for you guys to have them.
We would love to have them. That'll be part of our house registry.
Great,
Great.
very cool.
Is there anyone in the public who has any questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annette. Thanks, Mary Fran.
You're most welcome. I really advise you to stay indoors today.
Oh, it's very hot out.
Outside.
It is brutal.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, our next agenda item was comprehensive plan, timing for how we're going to review this. Just pull up my
Handy dandy spreadsheet.
handy dandy spreadsheet. So my original timing on this had been when we got the document, which we received on July 10th, last Wednesday, was to give everyone a month to read through and then start to pick up work session by work session, a chapter. So if I play that out, we would have picked up chapter 1 on August 6th work session and then continued through chapter 11 until October 29th. Then a couple of weeks off to either re-review points that were still open or to allow the consultants a chance to incorporate changes that we suggest. And that we would set the public hearing then, which would be November 25th, which is after Thanksgiving, I think? And have the first public hearing December 16th. And as I stated last week, having our public hearings in the month of December during holiday season is not acceptable to me, and I'm presuming not acceptable
Yeah, no, that's
to the rest.
Yeah,
It's not fair. Yeah,
Counterproductive.
yes, yeah, just won't
The
get-
25th is before Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay,
It's a Tuesday before, which
Okay.
makes it even
Even worse.
less likely that people will be here.
yes, okay. So, that being said, we have, our options would be to combine some chapters. And some chapters, and I think Meg can weigh in a little bit more on like where the most comments. I was working with Coco, our comp plan clerk, yesterday to get the old comments, just so I could sort of see what the volume was and what the old comments were. They are in SharePoint if anyone else wants to look at them. So I just didn't know where to find them initially. We could combine chapters, or we could schedule a separate work session each week to tackle a chapter at a time. You can either weigh in at this point, or I can tell you, I was thinking we would combine chapters and not schedule an extra work session unless we need to schedule an extra work session, depending on.
I think we can combine chapters.
Yeah, the first 3 or 4,
Yeah, I
usually
was-
be combined.
Well, I was kind of combining chapters, and when I did that, I was shooting for that we set a public hearing October 7th and have the first public hearing October 28th. Again, we don't have another meeting until November 25th, so it's still bad timing unless we schedule a special meeting early in November to, like, we turn one of our work sessions into a special meeting. Schedule a second public hearing as needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or even schedule it for a Saturday. something like that.
Yeah.
So that we
I
can,
also, I mean, if we're also gonna be, this part of the discussion is for us to go over the chapters, not necessarily for public comment. So if, that means that the public's gonna have quite a few months to read the whole document and comment. So I don't know that we need a full month before we start looking at it as a board. I don't know if other people feel like they need an entire month, but if we're gonna be going over like chapters 1 and 2, we can all make sure that we've read chapter 1 and 2 before we discuss it.
I think we start next week.
okay, I like that
I'd like
idea.
to have some time, with it, the whole thing. I mean, I would like to have some
Yeah.
time. I know initially you had projected maybe us having it for a month before we started the review. So I don't want, I would be opposed to cramming it together.
I was gonna suggest we've had it a week now, or we will as of tomorrow, starting at July 30th. So that's,
Yeah, it
we
gives
will
you-
have had the document in hand for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, the first
And we're gonna go
2 or 3
chapter by
chapters
chapter.
are pretty
Yeah.
uncontroversial.
Yes,
They're kind of, yeah,
So-
an explanation of existing conditions.
Yeah, so
So-
we can, we can start next week on that.
yeah, because I've already gone
Just
through
minutes, not really.
chapters 1 and 2 and made my comments on stuff, and also,
I
considering,
don't want to start next week.
no, not next
If you know,
the
yeah,
30th, I'm
the
thinking
30.
in 2 weeks from today.
That's fine.
So yeah, the first 2 chapters would be introduction, vision, and growth, change, and demographics. So they truly are, as Nick said, just setting the
Right.
as is. So if we're gonna go this route, it would be chapters 1 and 2 on the 30th, chapters 3 and 4, which is existing built condition, land use and zoning, and housing, those two, like, land use and zoning and housing would be together. And I was
That's
having
chapters 3 and 4.
3 and 4, so that would be August 6th.
Because chapter 3 is again, existing conditions, chapter 4 is housing plan. So they kind of go hand in
Yeah.
hand.
And then the next week would be August 13th, economy and transportation together. The following week, August 20th, natural resources and water quality along with parks, space and waterways.
7 and 8.
Give me the numbers, Amber.
7 and 8.
Okay,
Sorry.
They follow in just sequence, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now.
yeah, so 7 and 8 would be August 20th. And I can send this off to you in email. August 27th would be chapters 9 and 10, which is quality of life, historic, cultural, and community resources, along with utilities, sustainability, and resilience.
August 20.
7. And then September 10th would be chapter 11 as a standalone, which is the implementation and action plan, which is really kind of a look back at all of the action items from preceding chapters. And then that would give us 2 or 3 work session, 2 or 3 weeks before setting the public hearing.
Okay.
Sounds totally reasonable to me.
So then we'd set the public hearing on the 16th.
We would set the public hearing on, no, not the 16th, because that's just too soon, because we've just.
Well, I'm saying the 16th is the day we'd set the hearing
No.
for the,
No, because I was thinking if there's anything we need to revisit, we've got,
for October 7th.
yes, we'd set the public hearing on October 7th. The reason being is we have to get any changes back to the consultants
Right.
to incorporate.
Okay, right. So we'd have the hearing on the 7th, or we'd set
No,
the
we'd
hearing
set the hearing on
for.
October 7th, set it for
For the
October
28th.
28th.
Okay.
And then we would take it from there with subsequent public hearings as needed.
Okay.
We only have those in the auditorium.
I think we would switch over to the school auditorium. That way we can get set up for recording
Yeah.
It's easier to work.
and we can, we're up on the stage, we've got the podium set up, microphones.
22, yeah, the whole thing, yeah, yes.
Okay, I think we
Okay.
got a plan.
All right, so we'll start the 30th.
Yeah. I will summarize that and get that off to all of you.
Sounds good.
Okay, that those both went way faster than I thought, along with the lack of initial public comment today. So.
I can get up and make some if you want, Amber.
No, we have
Ben can stay.
we have some executive, we have some executive session items. Board member reports.
Quiet week last week,
Gotta go back to look at the
yeah,
calendar.
we have.
And I left everything in the other room because I was busy trying to figure out.
There was CHB.
What's today's date? Today's 16th. That'll be last week. Yes, there's community housing board and my notes are in the other room.
Yeah.
That was on Wednesday. You pull up the agenda from there. Spark something. But yeah, there was planning board on Tuesday, there was community housing board.
What we really talked about were the designs again and.
Yeah, the
Word
RFP,
and
we spent,
RFP.
yeah, we spent a lot of time on the RFP. And so didn't get through all of it.
Yeah.
So
Got
that will be
the
continuing.
half of it. The meeting was really, the main part of it was the RFP and going through it page by page as a committee and picking up little comments and typos and whatever. And that was kind of the meat of that meeting.
Mhm. Yeah, and it was a wide-ranging discussion because there are things that are gonna go into the RFP, but also considerations that we have to have with, once we have selected
Yeah.
a bill to manage, like what's gonna go into their contract.
We talked about default provisions, and Liz and I had a phone call with a woman-owned developer who, that company specializes in affordable housing. So I set up a call with them, and Liz and I did the call on Friday. And the woman we spoke to, who was one of the principals in the company, gave us a lot of great insight on the Monsanto's language that for us to consider for the ultimate contract. So it was pretty helpful.
I haven't seen, I saw the RFP, but I don't remember, are you specifying materials to be used and like down to that kind of minutia? Because you want to make sure that the quality build you're getting is the same for every quote. You don't want to get a low ball because they're going to use substandard materials, so it's good if you specify the exact materials you want used on the site. That way everybody's quoting the exact same job.
We're moving in that direction.
Yes, the plans that have been ordered from the architecture, the online,
Yeah.
they are full plans.
Okay.
So everyone will be working off of those full plans. And there was a little bit of a discussion about allowing for variations from there,
Yeah,
but
an efficiency variation.
Do they specify material use? Or not really?
I don't
Just a
think
set of building
That's what I'm
plans, yeah.
asking, yeah, because you want to
Yeah.
specify the materials to
Yeah.
be used if you can. You know, even if we give it to the building department and say, what is your standard for all of these things? And then specify exactly what they would expect to see. Then at least
Yeah,
you know everyone's quoting on something that's the same across the board, and you'll get a decent quality product. It's easy to get cheap.
although someone from the building department will have to help us with the evaluation of all of the proposals that come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to do a bunch of that up front, so you don't have to go back and ask for
Mhm.
refinements and
Mm-hmm.
rebids and.
Mhm. Right.
Okay.
Yes, anybody else?
Yeah, I had E-tip still moving forward. We're just waiting on some information from the fire district, so we're reaching out to them to get permission for some information from PSE&G. And then, they're moving forward with the evaluations. we were supposed to have our wetlands legislation discussion this week, but that got canceled, so I'm not sure when we're gonna reschedule it for, but,
Oh, this week it got canceled?
well, you couldn't make it this week, this past.
Next Thursday.
Thursday, yeah, Thursday.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay, yeah, no, you were saying this week, I did.
Yeah, I
thought,
did, I misspoke, yeah.
No, that,
But we haven't.
we're on for Thursday at noon,
Are we?
is that correct?
Did we schedule for this Thursday at noon?
Yeah,
Oh, I never got a response, but yeah. Are you fine with that date?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so then good.
Okay, so this Thursday at noon.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't
Oh, no, but
get a response, okay, all right.
no worries.
Okay.
Does that work?
I would love to see if it works for everybody else.
Yeah, it's fine for me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, I can do it. Okay, so that's redone. And then otherwise, I just want to thank everybody who worked so hard to get the fireworks running this weekend. They did a great job. It takes a lot of volunteer hours to make that project happen, and it takes a lot of community involvement. So if I try to list everybody, I'll definitely miss people, but it takes a lot of work from the fireworks committee, from our EMS, our highway department, the fire department, the police department. We bring in outside resources to help with the Coast Guard, the yacht club. There's a lot of people who work really hard to make the fireworks happen, and I think it was once again a wonderfully successful event. So just wanted to thank everybody who participated, and I hope everybody had a lot of fun attending.
It was a hell of a show.
Yeah, it was
It
great.
really was.
I was sick. I wasn't able to go, but I was
Oh my
watching it
God.
live on Facebook. I was
Oh.
very sad that I wasn't there in person. I was having a pity party with myself, but yeah, it's always an amazing event. And they
Yeah,
worked very
it
hard
is.
to get it together. And so just a big thank you to everybody who worked on that. And then the other thing that I had going on was the overdose awareness day that we always work on in August. So we're starting planning for that event. So that'll be coming up in the future, just to give everyone a heads up. And then the blood drive is Friday, the 19th from 12 to 6. So if you have a pint that you can donate, everyone would appreciate it. And it's gonna be at the community center. And I think that's all I have.
Board members are available on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to meet upstairs. I have a meeting scheduled. HR has a meeting scheduled. I have another meeting scheduled. So,
I don't think we have enough room upstairs, but we'll find another place. Maybe the basement over at the Justice Court.
You check the inventory and all the
you're doing,
documents. we
it's
gotta
at 1 o'clock, your meeting? 12 or 12? Actually, that might be okay, because I've got Suffolk County Community Development Block Grant people on housing coming in at 1. But one of the things we're gonna do is tour the 3 sites, because they want to just better understand. I invited you to that meeting.
get.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry,
Just to mess up his last name.
no, I missed that one.
Yeah, so that's Thursday at 1 o'clock, but we're going to actually go to the 3 different sites, because if they want to understand what we're trying to accomplish, so that they can look to see what kind of funding they might be able to build into monies that they have available. And that's at 11? That's at 1, at 1 Thursday. Okay.
Thursday, and that will be here?
Yes, but that's Ben and I. We're not, it's not we don't, the 2 liaisons.
Oh, it's good, yeah. Just
Uh,
We're meeting Thursday at 12, we're
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, and I think an hour should be sufficient.
Okay,
It's
all right,
a
just,
12:30 HR meeting in here.
We'll see if maybe they could use my
Yeah, I don't know how, but
or we'll go again into the basement, adjust, we'll figure something.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
We'll find a spot.
yeah.
Okay.
space is sometimes an issue around here.
Facility master plan?
Exactly, we're getting to that. Yesterday, we talked about the Pearlman Music Group, the volunteer for initial review meeting on site plan review.
Mhm.
I was gonna volunteer myself.
Oh, yeah, I was sure.
I would, or whatever, I thought, how many do we need? I don't.
Just one.
Just need
It's-
one.
Oh,
Yeah, we
just
just
one?
need,
Yeah, I mean, we could do two, but we can't do more than two. So,
I wouldn't mind doing it just with you, just
Mhm.
to see how it's done, since you will be my first.
uh-huh. Okay,
But
how do you
my
feel
first
about
can be
that?
another one too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right, good. And then, yeah,
When does that
well,
happen?
Christina's gonna be tasked with scheduling that. And,
The meeting on Thursday I have in my calendar at 11?
nope,
No?
I mean, that's not my meeting.
Yeah, you have
I have,
Oh wait, there are more. Hold on.
there's one at 11 and one at 1:30.
No, it's at 11, yeah.
no, so supervisor's meeting, the 11 o'clock one is not open. That's just me and some staff.
No, this is from 1 to
Volunteers.
2, affordable housing?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, Leah Jefferson. Justin starts with 8. Yeah, that's all that I have.
Me too. That was-
We have an executive session to discuss,
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I just want to update the board and the community. Last Wednesday, I appeared in front of the Suffolk County Planning Commission on the dock moratorium extension, and we were successful. We got that extension. It was another unanimous vote, which is highly irregular for the Suffolk County Planning Commission. So I must have made such a compelling argument.
Well, we could be that close.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yes,
Good news.
awesome, thank you.
okay. So we have contract negotiations, and legal advice, executive session.
Make a motion that we go into an executive session for contract negotiation.
Seconded.
It's not contract negotiation with employee and labor unions, it's with professional services, so contract negotiations on that, just to be clear.
Okay.
Public, okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.